Oh yeah, Extra Bases is back. Jason Bristol, Jeremy Booth, and Jeremy, move back from the camera a little bit. When Jeremy walked in today, I said, "What is that? What is that?" And then when he told me what it is, as you can move closer to the mic, I was like, "Duh."
Yeah, it's the Mississauga Tigers.
Mm-hmm.
It is a jacket or pullover, very light, that we're going to represent
Canada.
Yeah, Mississauga Tigers, and Sean Travers and Greg Byron and all the players they've had up there, all the staff, good people.
There's like 85 nailers that have come from that program. Is that right?
Formerly, yeah. I mean, the Ontario Blue Jays still exist. This Sean built that, and then he's.
Oh, do I have the wrong one? I thought it was.
You do. No,
okay.
Same guy,
all right,
Sean.
all right,
Sean got all those guys ready to go, and he's continued to do good work. He's on our staff, and he's a good friend. But he gave this to me before, and I'm rocking it tonight. It's 82 degrees here in Houston, Texas on November, what is this, 8th, 7th?
7th. When you first sat down in the lobby, I thought it says, for those of us listening, for those of you listening, it says it's a SAUGA. And when you were sitting down in the lobby, when I came down to retrieve you, I thought it said sauce. And I was like, why would you have sauce written on your your sweatshirt pullover thing?
Well, it's a saga.
Yeah,
saga,
no, I see that now.
I think though today, for me personally, and I won't say anything past this,
mm-hmm.
It's appropriate for my day today to say saga, and so we're just gonna leave it at right
in
there.
The sense of SAGA.
It's
SAGA.
Yeah, so it's appropriate, but no, it's representing my guys and my people up there, and anything I can do for that program, I will.
GM meetings wrapping up in San Antonio. What I thought was very interesting.
A lot interesting.
There was a lot of interesting stuff. Number one was the talk reporters had with Scott Boras about a certain third baseman who is open to playing another position.
Who knew? Is that a thing?
Alex Bregman, Gold Glove third baseman, would be
case. Just throw it in there.
Would be. Someone I know said, "Boy, that's going to look really nice on his mantle in X City."
Yeah, it's Alex is
but that was clearly a signal for other teams out there saying, "Hey, we're open for business."
When Alex was drafted, the industry thought he would go to second. They didn't think he'd go to third. It was a good job by the Astros to put him over there and fit their needs with Altuve at second. But
Correa at short. I mean, Correa at short was the number one reason.
Yeah, but they didn't draft him with the reason they think he could play short. They drafted him because he hit.
Yeah.
He's hit, and it's college performer. It was LSU, it was SEC, all the arrows that pointed, the makeup, the history of 10 years of it. Yeah, I mean, Alex was the pedigree was pretty much second to none at the time, right? Dansby Swanson went ahead of him, but as far as the pedigree, like Alex Bregman had the pedigree. So
what are the chances of him actually playing second in 2024? No, 2025.
50%.
50%?
Yeah, because it'll be somewhere, and I say that because that opens up his market. The Red Sox, they're going to have some needs there. That'll help. Trevor Story, you never know what you're going to get short. Devers is pretty much going to play third base, but the Red Sox have a fit. The Yankees potentially have a fit.
Do you want to go through the team odds?
Okay, we got.
This is courtesy of bookies.com odds maker Adam Thompson. He's developed hypothetical odds as to where Alex Bregman plays next season. Probably should start at the top and work our way down.
Sure, we got
21% chance. Houston Astros.
It's not bad.
Plus 375.
Sure.
New York Yankees. Plus 400, 20% odds. Seattle Mariners. Plus 425, 19.1%.
Okay.
Detroit Tigers.
See that.
17.4%. Toronto Blue Jays.
See that.
At 12%. Boston Red Sox.
Definitely see that.
8%.
Yeah.
New York Mets, 7.1%.
See that too.
And that may be the last one. Nope. Washington Nationals, 6.7%. And then at the very end, you have the field, meaning every other team not mentioned.
So I take every other team not mentioned off that list. for me. I think that's a good list.
If you were a betting man, where would you place your money?
I think it's Boston. I think it's the Red Sox.
Drafted by the Red Sox out of
Yeah,
high school.
I think it fits in Boston. I don't know that New York. I don't know that he could play in New York. I don't know that New York is going to be receptive to him unless it's the Mets, right?
And I don't know if the Mets. I don't now. Granted, second base is a different story.
Sure.
But I don't know if the Mets, with the emergence of what they have now at third.
Yeah, they're talking about putting the Mets, talking about putting Batty in left field. He played some second base this year, Brett Batty. But there's a need for the Mets at second base, right? Next to Lindor, that's not a bad look. It's not a bad look in that infield. They're probably going to try to re-sign Pete Alonso. Cohen is going to be very intentional about the makeup he adds to the clubhouse. Alex is a winning player. In my view, the Mets are a player. In this situation, the Yankees are too. I don't know if he fits in New York with the Yankees or even LA with the Dodgers. I don't think those are necessarily fits, just because of 2017 and the rivalries over the years. But Boston, I think that's a fit. I think Boston's a fit, and the question will be if they want to spend money in Boston, which I don't know. And the question with Alex will be, does he want to hit strikes hard?
Yeah, I noticed they hired. Not only did I notice, I think I alerted you to the move that was made in Boston.
I had nothing for that one. Like I've said it so much and it's been so awful. But the Red Sox have made a push into their development and being back in that drive line mold of things. Cal Bodie's over there, and what's that guy's name? The guy that can't teach hitting. The other guy. Whatever. I forget this guy. And that's how much they're on my mind. I don't think about them at all. They're irrelevant to me. I don't think they're very good. I think Bodie's had some stuff he's done. He's a hell of a poker player, from what I understand. As far as how he's, how he's done some stuff. He's good with some of the things that have gotten in the inroads of science. But when it comes to what they have done over there as a whole, they've done more harm than good, and I just don't pay attention to it. Now, if you're talking about if Dylan Lawson, the groundbreaking theory is to get a strike and hit it hard.
Yeah.
Man, I can tell you it's moving for me. It's motivating, wakes me up every day to think about it. I get excited about learning the concept. So I can only imagine how the player. So look, whatever that is, but if that's a fit for Alex, he does fit the city. The makeup fits who he is. I think. Yeah. But I still think Houston, first and foremost, if Crane wants to spend the money.
Houston makes the most sense for me. However, the team that really on that list makes the most sense to me.
Yeah.
Detroit.
Well, because AJ.
Not just because of AJ. Here's a team that is on the cusp. Yeah. They got into the playoffs.
Yeah, and they beat the Astros.
At third base, they had Gio there.
Yeah.
-3 WAR, -0.3 WAR. I know WAR is not. They got little to no production out of third base. You don't think that not only would they get the production of an Alex Bregman, but all the other stuff that goes along with it on a team that is clearly climbing, ascending, and what he could mean to that clubhouse.
And they'll spend.
And they probably have money to spend. Money, yeah. Now, does Alex want to be freezing his tail off basically through, say, May?
Yeah, Detroit's cold. No doubt about it.
But you know what? I imagine you can afford heating bills when you're getting that kind of paycheck.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense in a few different ways.
It just makes so much sense to me, Jeremy.
Toronto doesn't make a lot of sense to me. The Angels don't make a lot of sense to me. I don't think they were listed.
I mean, look at the guys here. Jake Rogers is 29. Torkelson's 24. Colt Keith is 22. I'm taking Javier Baez out of the equation, although he's 31. Riley Green's 23. Parker Meadows is 24. Perez is 24. Malloy is 24. Veerling is 27. You're looking at these guys, and I'm thinking, now, granted, I know Jace is there, Jace Young. I get it. But do we truly know what Jace Young is yet? I don't know.
You don't. Another place to watch for Bregman could be San Francisco.
Really?
Yeah. Because
he seems like the type of guy that Sorry, I think I know where you were going. He seems like the type of player that Buster Posey, like there's this gravitational pull.
It would make sense for all the right reasons that Alex would end up there. Buster got involved in the Matt Chapman deal, make sure he didn't leave. They're able to extend him, and so third base is going to be locked down. But if he's going to play second, and the Giants are trying to remake the club to compete now, keep in mind they got to compete with the Diamondbacks, which is the least of their concerns at the moment. The Padres, which made the playoffs, and of course the world champion Dodgers, right? So San Francisco Giants currently are fourth in that division. The Rockies are, well, they're in a different place. But when it comes to what the Giants are trying to do, which is win right away, there's potential fit there. So I'd add them to the list. I would probably subtract the Nationals, who I don't think are ready for them yet. But it's going to be interesting, especially playing second base. And we talked about him being maybe Steve Garvey before too, and playing some first. So we'll find out.
Do you think that the Tigers, they would say, "Nah, we're good. We got Jace Young. He's at AAA. He's ready."
No,
I don't either.
I think he's a trade piece to get something else. If you sign Bregman and Alex playing second base, is it better on his body? Is it not as it's difficult? I don't know, but I do know that the reason to get Alex Bregman, have him on your roster as a tool evaluation piece, has always been the bat. Now, when it comes to what he does as a person, and I've literally watched him grow up in the big leagues and watched him in the minor leagues and watched him at LSU, and I saw him in his first College World Series make 3 errors or short. And I sent a text message. Alex don't know this. I sent a text message to Blake Dean at the time, who was coaching. I said, "What's wrong with this cat?" I'm not going to say what the answer was, but
yeah.
I was in Omaha for that. So I've watched this guy as much as I've watched any player, I think, in start evaluating guys. So Detroit makes sense. I think that's a very good call. I think Houston makes sense. I think San Francisco makes sense. I think Boston makes sense. And all those places have the money to pay him. Who decides to do it? Don't know.
It is award season. It is award season. Aaron Judge, lock for AL MVP. You've got Judge, Gunnar Henderson, Juan Soto, Jose Ramirez, Bobby Witt Jr.
For me, it's the person that made the most impact for their club.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd probably vote for Bobby Witt Jr. For
Mm.
me. Kansas City Royals are not in that position without Bobby Witt Jr. Now, New York Yankees likely aren't in that position with Aaron Judge.
But they'd be awfully close.
They'd be close. And I don't know that he made a bigger impact for them than Witt made for the Royals. Now, did Judge have the best season? Yeah, probably. Did Judge have the most did he get the furthest in the playoffs? Clearly. And you do this voting before the playoffs begin, so it doesn't color your thinking, right? So Judge probably wins the award. Much like on the other side, Ohtani wins that award, which is pretty much hands down, right? But is he the guy? I don't know, man. Bobby Witt Jr. is gonna be pretty good for a long time, and he means so much to that clubhouse. It's a different club when Kansas City. They don't make the playoffs without Bobby Witt Jr. That much I'll tell you.
He lived up to expectations.
Sure did.
Did you see him as an amateur?
I did.
And you thought,
let's move on. That was no-brainer.
Okay.
Yeah. When you get guys like that at the top, you're like, for me, that's like, okay, that's easy. Next.
Yeah, but there are a lot of guys at the top who later we find out can't play. I mean, we've seen them.
Yeah, but those are the guys I'm referring to. Like Bubba Starling when he went 5th or 6th, I was like, I'm out.
You knew right away.
Well,
swing and miss, right?
He was missing the it factor. He had all the tools in the world, and it was attractive. Take him in the second round for me. But me and Joe Ferrone got it. So, okay, the Giants' new general manager, Zach Manesi, who's been their pro scouting coordinator for a while. Zach we were all in Milwaukee together, which, if you let me digress for 1 second.
This is your show.
It's our show, but that crew in Milwaukee, Doug Melvin was a general manager. Jack Sorenzik led and ran the scouting department. Okay. Zach Manassian, at the time, I don't think he was pro scouting coordinator. He promoted after that, but Zach was involved on both sides of it. Todd Johnson, their current scouting director, or VP of scouting, was like the assistant director, just notes and stuff like that. Tony Mongino was also part of that in Milwaukee, who followed Jack to Seattle. Ray Montgomery, Bobby Heck, Tommy Allison, Bruce Side, Rick Wilson, all those and more, leading the cross check and the assistant director of scouting and all the stuff that ran through it. And then the area guys, Dan Nellum, myself, Justin McCray, Josh Belofsky, Tim McIlvain is on the director with Anaheim, and more. Brian Sankey, it was a good group, and I say that to tell you that we're sitting in the draft room, and it's Anthony Rendon and Bubba. It's 2011. We ended up taking Taylor Youngman, but Bubba Starling, Joe Ferrone really liked him. The industry liked him. The kid went fifth, or whatever it was, right? Just for me, it was Rendon at that pick. Mm-hmm. They went back to back. But Doug Melvin listened to it, said, Jeremy, who do you like? Joe, who do you like? Let's move on. And the point is that all the tools in the world were there to jump off the page. The player for me was missing. It doesn't make me better or worse scout than Joe Ferrone. That's not where I'm going. Joe's a great dude. Loved him, spent a lot of time with him. But what it does mean is that for me, when you see Bobby Witt and you see the athleticism, the shortstop, throw, the winning mentality, the bloodlines, the non-swing and miss, it's like, I get it. Let's move on. You see what I mean? George Springer, for example, by contrast, was much more difficult. So I went 11. Swung and missed a lot. And Bobby Heck and his staff did an exceptional job on George Springer with the Astros, right? But we got to Youngman at 12, same draft. Fastball, breaking ball, in between breaking ball, had some control, threw a bunch of strikes, college performer. Thought he'd be a 3-starter on his ceiling, maybe a 2 as a ceiling if he was more of a Jeff Neiman type, but not Neiman. It's a guy I'm thinking about. Give me some old school guy. Fastball command, 6'7", kind of funky. Anyway, Taylor was that type of guy that you would see.
Okay. Neiman's a pretty.
No, Mike Witt. That's what I was thinking.
Mike Witt.
Mike Witt. Back
oh, God. 80s Angels.
Yeah.
Wow.
But Witt was like 6'7".
Yeah,
Taylor
he's a
6'6".
tall dude.
So
yeah, he was a tall dude.
Right. Yeah. It's one of those type of deals. And then Taylor gets out there and it just doesn't work out that way. Right. But Bobby Witt Jr. is an easy one to move on from. And in that draft room with Zach and all the rest of those guys, all of us together, the huge debate was, do you take the upside of a Bubba Starling or do you take the player in Anthony Rendon? And Bobby Witt gave you both. So you just move on. That's where I was going with.
And of course, you also had production for Bobby Witt because he plays in Texas.
That's right.
I find very interesting the National League Cy Young. This one site has Ranger Suarez at the top odds, which.
Really?
Yeah. Tyler Glasnow, Zach Wheeler, Chris Sale. I think Chris Sale's pretty.
He had a really good year.
He had a great year.
Yeah.
I mean, he's among the leaders in pitching WAR.
The Braves, they didn't get in, right? Braves, they did.
They did.
And they lost in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
Did he get hurt?
No.
Sale pitched the whole way?
I think so.
I thought he got hurt in the playoffs. Anyway, go ahead.
I think Chris Sale's my pick.
I would say off what we just talked about, Sale is the pick if those are the guys. How about that? The Red Sox trade him to Atlanta and all of a sudden he's deciding one.
Well, he did have an injury. Sorry. He did not expect to pitch in the team's NL Wild Card Series.
He got hurt.
Sorry about that. Jeremy, I was so engrossed with the American League and the Astros.
That's okay. I totally get it, man. I mean, I had a moment myself trying to remember what I was trying to compare Bubba Starling and Anthony Rendon. It happens all the time.
Well, I was going to edit that out, but now that you mentioned
we're not going to leave all that in, but it's Sale's probably the pick. Ranger Suarez over Sale doesn't fit for me.
How about American League? I think that one's pretty obvious. I mean, we saw him pitch in the playoffs. School, right?
It's pretty good. It was pretty good. And we talked about it, and we didn't want the Tigers to come to town, where we kind of landed it, and they came to town. And that's a bad man right there. That's a bad man for a while. Yeah, I think that's probably an easy one.
AL Rookie of the Year, Luis Gil, Mason Miller, Abreu from the Red Sox, who the Astros, he was an Astros guy. That was a good pick. That was a good trade. I mean, again, you go back to the international scouting for the Astros, it has saved their tail.
Sure did.
It looks like this Luis Gil has the best odds. And then American League Cy Young, we talked about that. Skubal.
Yeah.
Um,
I like Mason Miller for rookie of the year.
okay.
If he wasn't in Oakland, how much better those numbers look?
Yeah. World Series real quick for next year. Dodgers, Yankees, Braves, Phillies, Orioles, Astros,
Really?
Padres, Mets.
In that order?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Dodgers going to have most everybody back. So,
And
you know,
Mookie potentially moving to a new position,
what they say?
infield.
Second base? That's what he signed as.
Yeah.
Moving to second base, it makes sense. Put Ohtani in right field, right? You're going to end up seeing a rotating DH there. Chris Taylor, Max Muncy, Ohtani, maybe Betts gets a day, Freeman gets a day. You're going to see some guys. Might be 6 out of 7 days you have a different DH. Maybe Ohtani DHs twice. That's actually a pretty good problem to have.
Second base or shortstop.
Second base for me. In today's game, if you're the Dodgers, you got Kike Hernandez, you got Mookie Betts. I mean, we all know the lineup. We just watched it, in today's game, having a rotating DH makes a lot of sense. It just does, if you can do it.
Also, real quick, Dana Brown has mentioned that he was talking about Justin Verlander,
And
which I did. You saw the quote?
I did not.
Okay.
No, been a little preoccupied, Jason.
And that's where the saga.
Yeah, little orange and black.
The reporting is the reporting is that JV they've been talking to his people.
Well, yeah. First of all, it doesn't make sense for Verlander to go anywhere else. He just has to accept his role here and the contract.
I think I told you, and I may have said it on this podcast. I think Justin Verlander has a better shot of returning than Alex Bregman.
Agreed, because it's not going to be nowhere near the money that he's made that he's going to acquire.
Tons of incentives.
100%.
They've done this once before.
100%.
I don't have a problem with it at all.
Me either.
One thing I was surprised by was them dumping Jose Urquidy or placing him on outrighting him. But on the flip side of that, you also know that he ain't going to pitch next year. So you're holding the Urquidy.
That was a smart move. It was a very smart move. It also frees up roster space to bring back a Verlander. Because, Crane and sign Bregman if you want to. Presley's on the roster, isn't that right? He had vested.
Yes. Apparently there is some trade talk potentially, but of course he has a
no trade clause. Yeah. Do they expect what's the timeline they gave for Javier? Right.
Now.
Right.
What do we know about the Astros and timelines?
Forget it.
I would say midsummer.
Maybe.
And
McCullers, is he taking the ball again for the first time in 3 years? I'm not trying to be.
No. I don't know. I mean,
he didn't pitch in 22.
Didn't pitch at all in 24.
He pitched in 22. He got beat by the Phillies. Remember I said they were ambushing him? Yeah. But in 23, he didn't pitch. And in 24, he didn't pitch. He hasn't pitched for 2 years. You still think he's a starter?
No. It's not what I think, not what you think. It's what the Astros think and some sort of agreement they can come up or agree to with Lance. It's what Lance thinks and what the Astros think. Because
how'd you do that?
What?
How'd you say that with a straight face?
Because Lance told me. Now, granted, this was back in 2017 that Lance is a starter. So,
yeah,
I think he views himself as a starter.
That's great. Now, I used to view myself.
I haven't talked to Lance in a while about this, but my guess is he still feels that way.
I used to view myself as a 6'5" runner. Didn't materialize. Okay, he needs to go into the bullpen. He needs to be good. And now with health being he says contract's up when 26.
He's got one more year.
So he's got 1 year. So out of the 3 or 4 years that Click gave him, he didn't pitch for 2 of them. He pitched in 22, didn't pitch for 23 and 24. He's a pitch in 25. You're paying $17 million a year. Is that right? And we're going to talk about this guy possibly doing something that goes on the shelf. Did I miss something here? So I don't have I don't know what to say here. I want to say with that.
Actually, he's through 26, so he's a free agent in 27.
Yeah. That's
At 17.7 million.
that's why Presley is, that's why they're gonna move on from Urquidy. You have to make room for that money to go sign other people to help.
Urquidy was going through, he would have been arbitration eligible again. So
Yeah.
probably around 4 million, between
Yeah.
3.5
He's
and
not
4.
gonna pitch at all.
All right, everybody. That's 26 minutes. It's good to have Jeremy back in studio, rocking the saga in the middle of sagas. Oh, I can't wait to read the book one day, Jeremy.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
All right. Well, for Jeremy, I'm Jason. Next time we'll get to your comments, concerns, and all that. And as always, we appreciate you listening. And as always, until next time, thanks for watching Extra Bases.